Hi everyone, I hope you're well. Hope you're looking after each other and staying safe. I'm still in the UK, now 4 months in the UK, and fingers crossed I'm going to be back in the next couple of weeks. So it's now coming towards the end of June. But I thought I'd send you a quick video for you to look at, and I'll try and keep it as short and concise as possible. I know you're all super busy and probably busier now than ever, but I thought I would send you 7 quick financial tips of things to think about. Some of them might apply to you, all of them might apply to you, but if you pick up 1 or 2 things from this and you say, do you know what, that's been really helpful, then that's my kind of mission completed. And of course, anything that you want to know after this, just drop me a message, we can WhatsApp, we can have a Zoom call. So number 1 is, how much cash reserves should you be holding? Now, normally I would say to clients, hold roughly 3 months of expenses, not 3 months of income. So if you factor in your rent, your money for food, outgoings, bills, money for children, education, whatever you think your monthly outgoing is, multiply that by 3, and that's normally what I would say you should have as a cash flow. Whether or not you keep it in the bank, whether or not you withdraw it and keep it in a safe. You can get a safe from Ace Hardware for 400 dirhams. The one I use at home and I recommend to clients is brilliant. You just screw it in, bolt it to the drawer, withdraw some cash, because you never know if one day you can't get access to cash. If you've got some money in dollars, dirhams and euro or pounds, I'd always recommend stash a bit of money away. But the reason why I'm saying now, so I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, I'll try and keep this simple. The reason why I'm saying is that let's try and learn from every situation we're in. So with circumstances like now, I think it's important to maybe just push that from 3 months, maybe to 4 or 5 months, because we never know what's around the corner. Something like this might happen again. And I think cash is important in times like this. So where possible, for some of you that have still been able to maintain your salary, but you've spent less with this time, just try and nudge your cash pot up from 3 months to 4 months or 5 months, nothing more than 5, but between 3 and 5 months is a healthy amount. So for number 2 would be on goals and goal setting. And there's a famous setting that we always overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 5. And for me, you know, I never really worked on goals, and it wasn't really something that I just always used to hear or see goal setting, and it means nothing, and it doesn't really amount to anything, it's just something there. Then I really started to work on goal setting a lot with myself in the past probably 10 years, and it's amazing the results that can have. I mean, the subconscious mind is 80 times more powerful than the conscious mind. And the mind doesn't know what is real, what's reality, and what is false. So if you visualize and you plug into your brain the things that you want to achieve, it's a computer. It will just, like Google, it will find a way of achieving it. And I could talk to you separately all day long about this. But for me, with clients I've worked with, and we've set goals, and when you set goals, the outcome is so predictable. You know, if you want something, we set it, and you know, within reason, you can achieve it. So if you're wanting something different, whether or not it's financial or personal or business or health or something for the children or something for the future, whatever it is, just visualize it, write it down. Writing it down is so important. When you see it and then you work out, okay, how can I get there? You've done literally 90% of the job already. So if you want any help on this, and don't feel embarrassed, or don't feel that, you know, it's something silly, you know, and you might not feel comfortable going to anybody else, but if it's me, you know, I'll whatever you need, whatever time you need, you know, don't feel that you can't come to me, because I'll do whatever I can to help you on it, because it is really important. And I've had people help me on it for the past decade, and it's so powerful. So I'd like to pass that on. And just on this topic, you know, the 30-day challenge with Dean, that's really, really good. I promise you, I picked out 5 or 6 snippets from that. There's one new thing every day. 26 of them didn't resonate with me, but 4 or 5 did. and now I implement that as part of my daily routine. So that's a really good one to do, and it's free. So number 3 is on beneficiaries, power of attorney, and guardianship. These all come under the same umbrella, and what that effectively means is beneficiaries is making sure that the policies that we've got, the people that you want your money and your policies to go to, it goes to correctly in the correct percentages, and we may need to update them, or we may need to put them in place. I've met you all personally. I know how hard you all work, and we all work incredibly hard in the UAE, especially compared to, you know, for me in the UK, I work far harder, and I know you all do. And I know how important it is for you to make sure that the money and the assets and the accounts that you've set up go to the people that you love. The majority of you have this set up. There's a few policies and a few of you out there which, when we set it up, we said we'll have a think about it. Please make sure that you get these set up. Every single month I send you your statements. You should be able to see on the majority of the statements if there's a beneficiary set up. If you haven't had it set up yet, please drop me a message. I'll make whatever I can easier for you. We can get it done within a day. But please, it's something that's super important, because if you've got a policy and you don't have a beneficiary and something ever happens, God forbid, it is a nightmare for whoever you want to be a beneficiary to your policy. It just makes it really difficult. And on occasions, depending on which countries, there can be tax implications, which we don't want. So that's for beneficiaries. Power of attorney is kind of the same, a little bit more complicated. If you've got any properties, any bank accounts, any things of asset or value around the world, just let me know, because I can help you with setting it up so that whoever you want to be the beneficiary, whoever you want to be to distribute your assets, just make sure that, you know, you've worked really hard for this stuff. Just make sure that you spend half an hour, 45 minutes, a conversation with me. Just not going to cost you anything, but I just want to make sure that whatever you've got gets distributed to the people that you love. So drop me a message and I can help you with that. And then last one, guardianship. I've sent you all a few times now the guardianship form. This is for guardianship for the UAE. So if something ever happens, and I know this is a bit of a morbid topic, I apologise, but it is something that's important. Make sure that if something ever happens, you know who the children can go to temporarily in the UAE, and who you want the children to go to permanently in the future. I always knew from the age of 10, my mum, I'm pointing there because she's in the other room, because I'm staying with them at the moment still. My aunt was always nominated from the age of about 3. My aunt was going to be the one, if something ever happened to my mum and dad, she would be the one that would look after us. And I knew from the age of about 10, but it was set up legally from the age of, for us, for 3. And it's surprising how many of you out there have never discussed this. And I know it's a horrible topic, but isn't it better to have a 10-minute chat about it and hope that you never ever need to discuss this ever again, than something happen and the big unknown or big question mark. So please, again, fill out the form. I'll do whatever I can to help you, and let's just hope we do this stuff when we never need it. So that's number 3. Okay, so number 4 is if you own any properties around the world and you have a mortgage or a loan. So in the UK, America, Canada, most places in Europe, Australia, most of the places where you take a traditional mortgage, you can now ask to get cheaper rates. So generally around the world, the loan rates, the interest rates have come down. What that means is that you can remortgage your property, and for the same product, it costs you less. So I'll give you, for example, in the UK, the rates have gone from typically what was around kind of 4 or 5% to now 3-4%. So you can save 1 to 2% per year on the cost of a loan, which could be something like, on the average property, 500 to 1,000 dirhams a month. So if you have a bank, if you have a broker, if you have anybody and you've got property, get in touch with them and say to them, you know, what are the options for me to get a lower rate? And just a 1-line email, ping it across to them, and that could save you, 1,000 dirhams a month, hopefully. Okay, so number 5 is actually about your keys for the house and car keys and things, and passwords for computers, phones, and passwords for social media and things like that. So the reason for this actually comes from a family friend really, that recently got rushed into hospital, and his wife got rushed in, he went in as well, and nobody could access anything to the house. So they called somebody else, one of the neighbours, and said, can you access some clothes for us, because there was in an area, it's not too far from us, but in an area where everyone kind of knows each other, and they had to break into the house because no one had a key. And I just think things like this is just having a little bit of foresight and saying, okay, well, again, let's do something and hope we never need it. Just a little bit of planning. So if you've got any keys for your house where you're living, I mean, it's a little bit unique because you may not need it in the UAE because you've got security cards. But for example, if you've got family that may be a little bit elderly in different parts of the world, it might be worth just, if you've got a neighbour that lives close by to them, just ask them to get a spare set of keys and hold it that in the event that something happened one day, they need it, and just as a precautionary measure. And I think it's just, keep things in one place. And I just heard that story and I thought, okay, for my mum and dad, after I heard that story, I made sure there was a spare set of keys in a different place, different house, that if something ever happened, I could call somebody and say, can you get the keys, can you do this? And just a bit of common sense, but I thought I'd share that with you. The next one on the passwords as well, we're so reliant, we keep everything in one place. All the passwords now are automated. We've got access to all of our social medias, our phones, our contacts, and everything's all in one place. And I think it would be just a good idea to keep your passwords. I mean, for me, I keep my passwords the same. I try not to mess around with them too much, which means I'm probably more susceptible to fraud, but it's something I've always done, and touch wood, it's been okay so far. But now I've started to log all of my passwords for everything that I have, and then keep it in a safe place that my wife, Aika, and my sister and my parents can have it. So again, if something ever happens and they need it, they've got access to it. But that's really a short, simple one for number 5. So number 6 is regarding your account numbers. Now, we've all got multiple accounts. With me, you've got savings, investments, life insurances. We've got bank accounts in the UAE. We've got bank accounts maybe in Isle of Man. We've got bank accounts in different places across the world. Multiple currencies, joint ones, single ones, accounts for the kids. And even though, for me, I've got access to probably, I would say 70-80% of your data, I don't have all of it. And if anything, again, ever happened, it's important to make sure that the people that you know around you and the people that you trust know what you've got, what accounts they are, which countries they're in, how much you have roughly. I'll share something with you that we do as a family, and it was actually from my dad, and I hate to say it, but it was actually quite a smart idea. Not hate to say it, but we have this competitive edge in the family. But every single Christmas, and we've done this for as long as I can remember, at least for 15, 20 years, we would write down in an envelope, so we'd make a list, and we wouldn't share it with anybody, and the 4 of us would sit in a room, my sister and I and my mum and dad, and we would update, we would take out the envelope from the previous year, which is sealed, and we would update what we have as assets. If we have any more bank accounts, what the bank accounts are, if we have any more properties, if we have anything of value. And we would write everything down, seal it up in an envelope, and my dad would put it under a bookshelf and in between some slates. So if there's ever a fire, and my dad's old fashioned like that, if there was ever a fire, it would be protected. But I'm out in the Middle East and my sister was down in London, and again, if anything ever happened, we could go into that envelope, and as upsetting and emotional as it would be, at least our family would be able to see what we have, what the account numbers are, who the accounts are with, and then they can make the inroads in to get access to it, because I'd much prefer my family to be able to access my accounts than the government or somebody that, you know, well, it would go back to the government or to the bank and held in an account as non-activated. So yeah, I would definitely get together. I mean, that again is something, a bit of an old-fashioned thing that we do, but some form of measure that you can put down all of your accounts, your account numbers that your family can access, and whether or not it's in a written format and stored in a safe, whether or not it's put onto a USB stick and put in the safe, whether or not it is left with somebody else. I think it's just a good exercise to make a list of everything that you've got, and then wife, you know, even tell friends or cousins or family any of this stuff, because it's just things that I don't think there's anything really I'm saying here that you go, oh, I've never thought about that before. It's all kind of common sense stuff, but hopefully it's just a bit of a nudge where you say, you know, yes, we need to do that. But that's for number 6. I've got one more to go. So number 7, and this is the final one, is about wisdom. And what this is really about is being in a position where you can give advice or put something down as a tip or an experience for your children to learn from one day. And this story actually comes from, I've got someone who coaches me on business, and it was his father actually that put it together. So when his father passed away, unfortunately, a few years ago, his dad left him an envelope, and inside the envelope said, son, I wanted to give you 3 bits of tips from the experiences that I've had in my 83 years. And he's cherished that more than anything. He said more than money, more than anything that he could have left him. He left him these 3 tips, which were important for the 2 of them. And his dad, you know, had 83 years of life, which is something that you can leave and pass on, something that's, you know, an experience, something that's emotional, something that, you know, you think that your family can benefit from. And it meant a lot to him. And he's now done the same. He's got a 6-year-old son, and he's done the same for his son. So his son will get 2 envelopes. His son will get the envelope from his father with 3 tips, and then he'll get his, when he comes to later in life and he wants to do his 3, he will do the same for his son. And I just think what a lovely thing to be able to do, to pass on some words of wisdom. It can be something, you know, it could be something completely personal to you, but an experience in life, something that you might say, you know, live for today, travel as much as you can. You might say, my aunt used to always say to me, spend a bit and save a bit. It can be something simple like that, but just, I think it's nice to receive something like that written that's nothing to do with money. It's nothing to do with a gift that's a monetary value, but what a nice way to cherish. And you can pass on something like that down to your family and say, this was a letter from your granddad, this was a letter from your great granddad, and these were the bits of advice that they've passed on. And it doesn't need to be just to males, from father to son. It can be to daughters, from wife to the son, you know, whatever you feel. But I just thought, what a lovely way of passing on something that you've built up, that you've experienced, that you can give back to your family and hopefully better their life. Anyway, I'm sorry it's taken so long. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any questions at all, just drop me a message, and I'll hopefully see you all very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.